Go. What up, everybody? Q is healing. What up? This is your host, Hamza, or you can call me Q. Shit, it really depends on you. You know, whatever you're feeling for the day, if you're feeling a little nice, you can call me whatever you want, right? I got some good shit we want to talk about today, right? We got some really, really fucking sick things that we want to do, and we want to talk about. I just gotta get my notes up so I can make sure that I got everything that we need. How y'all feeling? How's everyone feeling? Is everyone good? Everyone surviving? Yeah, trust me, life is fucking survival at times. Don't get me wrong. Life can be fucking survival, Life can be absolutely fucking just something where you just feel like, how the fuck will I get out of this shit, right? How the fuck will I get out of a situation? How the fuck will this happen? How the fuck, I don't fucking understand. Oh my God. The moments in my life are like, yeah, I'm dead. Hey, I'm not going to be able to survive this. I'm not going to be able to survive this. And it's like, but at the same time, I find it so fascinating because essentially we now realize that somehow in some way we pull it through, right? We make it through. Um, and yeah, it's just fascinating. It's just crazy that what can happen when one has perseverance and one decides to continue, and doing their absolute best day by day, and eventually we realize that we do survive, right? But that doesn't mean that life that hasn't given its fair chance, fair things of fucked up nervous system, and that's why it's our responsibility to heal, right? Life throws situations in our way, and we need to afterwards heal from these situations. Okay. I think one thing that I want to do is that I want to speak about something that's been on my mind, and I think one way that I really want to start, right? I want to start with a little prayer. I think before we start each podcast, it could be so cool. Sometimes we do a little prayer in the start. It could be cool. I want to get to a point where we can take in calls, we can take in messages. You guys can message me, DM me. Obviously, a lot of you guys are already doing that. You can DM me on Healing with Q on Instagram, and then I reply with voice notes. I try. I can't always promise because I'm getting so fucking many messages. That's why I'm gonna try to see what I can do. But otherwise, we're gonna start, introducing some to the episodes, and then maybe that'll save me some time, and I can actually get more on. So yeah, what else, man? Yeah, so I want to start off with a prayer, and then one at the same time we do a few things. We do like calls. We take some real situations. We hear about people's problems, about their traumas, and we allow people to heal, man. I wanna give this chance to men and women to really be able to open up their hearts, and be a place where we can all fucking heal. This is a place where we can all fucking heal, and we all trying to heal. So yeah, all praise be to God. I think another segment that I want to do, I want to start streaming a bit as well. I think I want to start streaming, and one of the things I love about streaming is I can start sharing my screen with you guys. So if I actually start screaming, you guys can actually check out a lot of the fucking research that for example, if we're doing, like, if I'm checking out a study, I love to check neuroscience, and I love how I look at studies on just a bunch of different things, and even quantum physics, a bunch of fucking things that I'm now looking at, and I want to fucking love to share that with you guys. I think you guys will absolutely fucking love it, so let's fucking go. Yeah, so let's start off this with a prayer, right? Um, and I guess I want to start off saying what I'm grateful for, and I'm grateful for anyone that's listening in, whether that is every single human being on earth, or whether that is still just a single person. You are essentially the entire universe. So I'm grateful that the entire universe is listening to me, because you are the universe. You are everything combined, like into a little body. So I'm very grateful for your time. I'm very grateful for your trust. I'm very grateful for everything. By the way, I need to learn to look upwards or look downwards on my microphone. So shit. Everyone fucking watching in, I'm still new at this shit. Um, yeah, and I just, I'm just, I want to praise God. I want to praise God. God is the absolute greatest. God is the greatest. All praise be to God. All praise be to God. And whatever name or capacity that you have, God, without any mental constructs, without this manly made construct, the divine source, infinite love, infinite intelligence. All praise be to you. You are love. You are infinite. You are, oh God, I love you. Oh God, I love you. Oh God, I love you. I love you, God. I love you. All praise be to God. All praise be to the one that combines all of our hearts. God. Amen. Let's get it started. I want to talk to you about something that has really been on my mind today, and that is the how you have men that essentially think that the fact that they are disconnected from their hearts is somehow a strength, when in reality, men that are disconnected from their hearts is essentially it's a handicap. And some may be asking, why am I having these ones? Because there's too much fucking light. I'm trying to go to sleep, right? I don't want this fucking light to destroy my sleep. So I'm gonna wear these now. But I think one of the things that a lot of people, they fail to realize is we have, as Muslim men, we have thought that healing essentially is something that, oh yeah, that's a lot of us, unfortunately, has started to think that, oh yeah, healing is just something, some woo woo blah blah, and I'm healed and I'm perfectly fine. And the truth of the matter is that we can, and neuroscientists can check, right? This is not some woo woo bullshit. Neuroscientists can check on, I think it's fMRI scans as well, on how alive your heart is. And I find it fascinating because even in the Quran it speaks that it's not the eyes, but it's the hearts that have been blinded. And what you end up realizing is men that lack empathy, and you see this a lot in religious men. A lot of religious men that lack a lot of empathy essentially is because they're fully disconnected with their hearts, right? Their hearts are fully dead. And beforehand, one could say, oh, that's a very, I guess, poetic way of saying that, right? But no, what's fascinating, this is what I love, even about when you reapproach the Quran and then see how God is speaking, that perhaps the ones whose hearts were not closed were not all the kafir. It was all the kafir, all of you guys. It's just projection. Hey, it's all of y'all. Yeah, all of y'all, y'all got closed heart. I got an open heart. Maybe God was speaking to all mankind, which is everyone. Just this is what's so fascinating. When you have about 40,000 neurons in your heart, right? 40,000 neurons in your heart, and essentially, what ends up happening is that you have there's something called heart-brain coherence that you actually have, which essentially is when how your brain and your heart communicates. And what's so fascinating is men, or any person for that matter, that undergo trauma, right? That go through a lot of heavy form of trauma. They found out that those type of men essentially have a very dysregulated nervous system, and not only a dysregulated nervous system, their hearts and their brain essentially are sort of communicating as well, because it's a two-way channel, right? And what's fascinating about the heart is that the heart sends more signals to the brain as compared to the brain sending it to the heart, which is absolutely fucking fascinating. When you think about that, just think about the fact that your heart, which is the most vital organ, it sends more information to your head versus the other way around, right? And what information does this heart send? This heart is essentially what it sends. It sends signals that is of empathy being one of them. Empathy. So a lot of religious men that have, a lot of knowledge and wisdom and all these things, but they still can't be empathetic to people, or perhaps their wife or people close to them, essentially is because they're mentally handicapped. They're actually handicapped. They're actually handicapped in that sense. So when they treat other people like shit, it's essentially a form of handicap. And it comes from, again, trauma, neglect, and them just not being essentially, perhaps, and it could even be ancestral trauma, right? It doesn't have to start with them. Again, epigenetics, it could go back many, many, many generations. And this is one thing that I've come to realize is, it's absolutely fucking insane how men think that is a strength of theirs, when in reality, not being able to fully feel your emotions and have empathy is literally a limitation that you have. And it's not something that is cool. Literally, the Quran calls it out, and you have neuroscience that calls it out as well. Isn't that fascinating? Literally, where are you gonna run? To all the Muslim men, I guess, well, the neuroscientists, it can still speak to all types of men, whatever religion you're from. But I have a bone to pick with some Muslims, man. I have a bone to pick with Muslim men. Now, the Quran is saying that the lack of empathy that we have, right, which essentially when our hearts, they've been blinded. When our hearts have been blinded, that essentially, our lack of empathy comes from our hearts being blinded, right? Our lack of empathy comes from our hearts being blinded, and you have neuroscience to prove it as well. So it's like, where are you going to run to now? Where am I going to run to? Where am I going to say, oh, yeah, oh, no. Okay, God. But it's like God already spoke to us. God told us the truth. God was telling this to us thousands of years ago. And now neuroscience is catching up to it. Perhaps when we continue to try to project that God is only talking, what if God, this makes perfect sense. This makes perfect sense. When a man, he doesn't have, and again, because the heart essentially shuts down, and because it's not safe. When his nervous system is in a survival state, well, essentially, it's not safe to feel. It's safer to be up here. That's why a lot of religious men, they're very much up here. They're very much knowledgeable, but they're very disconnected with their hearts. Thus, they lack empathy, and essentially, they are mentally handicapped. They are. They are disabled, or at least they're disabled. So men that think, oh yeah, I'm a tough guy, it's a form of handicap, which is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Men think, we think this makes us tough, right? Oh, this makes us tough, not feeling. And I'm not shitting on men here, because I understand, look, as much as I talk about men, I say, oh, men this and men that. As a matter of fact, look, I have a lot of empathy, right? I have a lot of empathy for for men. Because at the end of the day, I realize, look, the trauma that we have was never ours to begin with. We didn't deserve that to happen to us, right? And to all men that are listening as well, you did not deserve to have that trauma handed to you. And a lot of you will be like, what trauma? What trauma? What trauma? I don't have any trauma. And that's the part in our brain, essentially, that has hidden and shrunken that trauma so deep within our subconscious mind, in such a deep place that we don't even know what we like. We can't be traumatized. How can we be traumatized? I don't have trauma. All right. If you asked me perhaps a year and a half ago, I'll be like, yeah, I don't have trauma. Yeah, maybe I experienced a few things. I now realize that I was like, top 5 or fucking top 10%. There was a checklist. There was Gabor Mate. He has the ACE test score, ACE test, which can sort of predict how much on the scale of fucking trauma, CPTSD you probably have, right? And I scored, I think, on 7 or 8 on that, which is fucking crazy, right? And basically, anyone above 4 or 5, essentially, when you look at all of they did this research in prisons, and they noticed that all of the inmates at least had an ACE score of over 5. So all of these men essentially are extremely traumatized. All these men in prison, they are traumatized. Does that make sense? They are traumatized. So my thing with saying this is, look, I know how difficult it is for men. And I know sometimes women may feel like, oh yeah, they're getting a voice through me, and I am. And I am a voice for the everything that is right, absolutely. But at the same time, you also have to remember, that doesn't equivalent me just hating on men. I'm not going to just spread more hate. No. I see my kings. I see all the kings. And I see the kings, how they struggle. I see you, Ak. I see you, Ak. I see how you've been struggling and all the time and no one is really there for you and you think you're just fucking alone in this shit. I understand, bro. I understand nobody's there for you. I know you had to fight on your own. I know nobody had your back, bro. I know nobody had your back. And at the same time, you still show up. You still do your best. You still give everything that you got. And then you got this motherfucker like me and he's trying to shit on you. I'm not, man. All I'm trying to say is you a king. You a king when you heal. You are an absolute fucking king when you heal. But when you don't heal, you become a tyrant. If you don't heal, bro, you become a tyrant. When you heal, you become a king. Have you ever seen, well, you've seen Lion King. Lion King is inspired by the Jungian psychology, where essentially you have the tyrant, which is Scar. He's the unhealed, where he suppresses his shadow, and he stems, if you've seen Mufasa, the young one, essentially stems from fear and trauma. And essentially how he's a tyrant. Scar is the tyrant. He's the representation of the shadows and so on and so on. Whereas you have Mufasa in that sense, who is the healed king. He is the healed king. He gives, he loves, he shares, he's loving. And you have Scar that takes. Scar takes and he destroys. That's a tyrant. That is what Carl Jung talked about when he said that's a tyrant. Carl Jung, by the way, anyone that wants to study, oh my God, this guy was a fucking genius. Within psychology, this guy is a fucking genius. Please look into Carl Jung. Oh my God, this guy knew what the fuck he was talking about. And then I love one interview where someone asks him, I think he said, so do you believe in God? And Carl Jung, he goes to him and smiles. He says, I know there's a God. I know God. So your question doesn't make sense. I know there's a God. Oh, I love him. So he also had a lot of things, but anyway, that's a side note. Like, I genuinely believe in the potentials of you guys. I genuinely believe in the potential of so many of you, right? There's so many of you that have so much fucking potential to become real fucking men, right? To become real fucking men. Bro, you know how with a heart of yours, how much you could fucking heal the fucking world, right? With a heart of yours, and fuck healing the world, man. Fuck healing the world. The only thing we need to start healing is ourselves, right? I learned this too. I can't fucking fix the world. I need to heal myself. And alongside my journey, yeah, I'm trying to spread love and I'm trying to do all this type of shit, you know? But we need to go away. Scar in Lion King, he's the tyrant. He's the one that takes and he sucks up dry. And you see this in wounded men like Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate just wants to take. You see this in wounded men like Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his father was an absolute fucking psychopath, right? He's an absolute fucking psychopath. Donald Trump's brother, they both experienced the same childhood. One became an alcoholic, drunk, and he killed him, he fucking overdosed and died. And then you had Donald Trump. And Donald Trump literally became a fucking tyrant. He doesn't have any empathy. He can bomb children here, left, right, and center. He's a tyrant. He is Scar. He is Scar in Lion King. And a lot of my Muslim acts, you guys are fucking the tyrants too. You guys are the fucking tyrants, man. And I fucking believe in you. Wallah, I believe in you. I swear I believe in so many of you. You guys, fuck the tyrant shit. If you actually went to the Mufasa route, right? If you went, fuck that. Simba represents the individuation process. You could go read the shit up online. Simba represents the individuation process that Carl Jung speaks about. And essentially what it is that when one says, you know what, because Simba, he ran away from all this shit. He was running away from it. Simba didn't want to look at all of his shit, right? So he ran away with Timon and Pumbaa and all that. And then eventually he realized from Rafiki, who's this, again, the sort of the archetype of this wise fucking whatever, I guess the wiser side of you. And he says, no, you have to become king now. You have to become king now. So you must go home and confront your shadows, that guilt, that trauma. You killed your father. Oh, that trauma that he killed his own father. He abandoned everyone. He destroyed that shame. So what does Rafiki say? Yes, so you have to go and confront. You must claim your place. And what does Mufasa look down on him, the healed king, and say, remember who you are. So to all of my acts out there, remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Go away from this tyrant shit, bro. It doesn't suit us. It doesn't suit us. This doesn't suit us. We are healers. We are lovers. We have empathy. Look, when we don't have empathy, that's a mental disability. Like I already talked about before, when there are studies here, I'm reading how here as well, Montreal Institute and Oxford Neuroscience that shows that the heart and brain are in a constant two-way communication. And the heart isn't just pumping blood, it's giving you brain emotional context, especially regarding empathy. So when your brain and your heart are not fully, when you don't have empathy fully, right? That can be for your wife, that can be for your family, that can be for your mother, that can be for someone else, right? Someone you don't know. Essentially, what's happening there is there's a part of you that's blocked. There's a part of you that's not fully feeling. And until you're not fully feeling, bro, how can you express God to communicate to you? How do you express God to communicate to you? How do you expect God to communicate to you? I believe in you, Ak. I believe in you. I believe in you. Even there's one fucker out there that's listening to this message, I fucking believe in you. If you heal for your own sake, you look at your own shadows and your own wounds, and you look at all of this shit, and you really fucking heal, however fucking long that takes, they ain't ready for you, Ak. They ain't ready for you. They ain't ready for you. The world ain't seen somebody like you then. And I need everybody to stand up on business now. I need us all to heal. I need everybody to heal. I need all Muslim men to step up and heal, man. We need to lock away from this institutionalized version of the religion that we have somehow that have been lied to. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah even said thousands of years ago, well, not thousands, but 1,000 years ago, essentially, that even the version of Islam back then, let alone all of the money that's been poured and all this crazy shit, the version of Islam has been so institutionalized, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And I find a lot of different things that it's been institutionalized to such a point where we, essentially as Muslims, are, rather than critique and asking questions to authorities, these institutions, we are disrespecting the Prophet ﷺ. We essentially disrespected the Prophet ﷺ. And the way that we are disrespecting the Prophet essentially is we are treating, well, this is a whole nother topic, man. Are we going to get into this? Are we going to get into how we can get into this? But you know what, bro, I can't be asked today. Or we're going to get into another discussion. Yeah, because one thing I really want to talk about is essentially the institutionalized version of Islam and how it truly has destroyed the view. People just literally destroyed a lot of what I believe is the essence of Islam, and has allowed for so much spread of misogyny. But we're gonna have that discussion probably maybe tomorrow, and yeah. Because that was one of the things that really turned me away from Islam as well. Is the institutionalized version. It lacked empathy. It lacked empathy, man. I'm not going to lie. It lacked empathy. It lacked empathy, bro. I had to break out of that. And I was like, what? And I had to restudy Islam all over again. And really, really deprogram myself and a lot of these imams and sheikhs and all this and that. And really, really go to the essence and the truth. Right? And I think what's fascinating nowadays is that, yeah, sure, like, you know, I think we have the ability to use these AI technologies to such an amazing extent. Now, bear in mind, AI is basically an enhancer. So sure, if anyone wants to be, you know, have more reasons why to have less empathy, right? To literally more reasons. Imagine a fucking monkey. Who the fuck would do that? Imagine a fucking monkey going in there and be like, ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, let me look at all the facts on why, you know, this is whatever, why, I guess go into the more extreme route. Or the most separated route, whether that is of any ideology. What a fucking monkey type of disconnected hardened monkey that would go out and let me spread more hatred. That's a fucking demon right there. A demon monkey. Let me spread hatred. So you can use AI for that shit. But what I think was fascinating is for example, one of the things that I really learned a lot about was, for example, Ibn Arabi, right? I had no clue about who's Ibn Arabi, for example. And I think a lot of you, even the concept of Ibn Arabi, I remember first when I studied, I was like, oh, this is blasphemy. It is blasphemy. It is blasphemy. But I guess while I went on my spiritual journey and I started healing and I started looking away and I started looking into and I started to realize that just like all religions, all right, so something fucked up. with the camera. Let's get this started again. So, like I was saying, I think with all religions have to a sense been institutionalized, right? You see this in all religions, and I think the whole concept of Muslims thinking as though, sure, if one wants to believe that, if one wants to, really, really live in this dreamy fairy tale world that Muslims, there was everyone, the Abbasids and the Umayyads, and there was no battle and about power, and there was no corruption, there was no, if you really are that gullible, cool. I guess at one point in my life I assumed as well that sure, there's been no type of corruption amongst, like, I never thought it was that fucking bad. I never thought it was that fucking bad. Then afterwards I realized, oh my God, like these people actually, they whipped some of the whole Imam Malik, right? They whipped Imam Malik. They literally, and the same they did with Imam Abu Hanifa, right? So all of the South Asians of the Hanafi Madhab, and when you look into the reason why they did these things to them was especially speaking up against oppressors. And I think it's so fascinating, we have totally forgot independent reasoning. There's something called independent reasoning. We have removed that totally from the religion. And all we're doing is we're following these cut plate, these institutionalized version of the religion, which is fine if people want to do that. I also understand, look, I guess the whole concept of religion is so, it can also be very confusing, right? It can be a very, very individualized journey. And I'm not saying people to follow one thing or another. Look, if people even are spiritual, hey, power to you, right? Power to you. In my opinion, just any belief in the divine, in God, in source, whatever, I think that in of itself empowers you. That already you have a superpower that's undeniable, right? But I think alongside that, what is really most important is essentially your relationship to yourself, in the sense that if your brain and your heart is really doesn't have that coherence amongst each other, well, it doesn't really matter. Well, I guess it's really fucked up, because essentially you can't have empathy, and when you can't really have full empathy, you're not able to fully feel that much. And I genuinely also believe, and even in the Quran as well, people's hearts become blinded, and trauma is one of the biggest, like, it's the biggest thing, as in why it gets blinded. It's not because perhaps people are evil, it's trauma. Perhaps the whispers of shaitan essentially is just, metaphorical, and that's something Ibn Arabi spoke about. That maybe, shaitan's whispers are sort of, and all of these things it's more of a metaphor. And it actually sounds really, really fascinating, because if you look into Jungian psychology, that's essentially similar to what he's saying. Carl Jung was an absolute genius. And Ibn Arabi, rahimahullah, he was also a genius, right? Spiritual genius meets, I guess, a psychological genius. And, yeah, so I guess, that's even maybe what if, even, the whispers of of shaitan is not like a little demon going, I'm going to come to you. Hello. Do bad things. Maybe that's not shaitan, right? Maybe that's not shaitan. Maybe shaitan is more of, like Carl Jung would speak about, the collective, the collective unconscious, which is essentially all of the trauma that is around. It's all of the negative energy. It's all of the fucking bullshit, again, which stems from fear. It stems from trauma, right? And a lot of people, they essentially, sure, you can be extremely religious, but at the same time, if your heart is not even connected, which is the most vital organ for you to connect with God, is the most vital organ for you to connect with God is your heart. And if that is if that lacks empathy, you have to really start questioning what is wrong with you. And I'm not saying this to bully anyone. Honestly, my look, at times I know I get harsh on men, and I know I sound these things, but it's not like I'm trying to bully anyone. Honestly, I know men go through a lot of struggles. Look, I see myself in all of you, right? I see myself in all of you. Like, we are one. We are all the same. My pain is your pain. Your pain is my pain. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't. That's fucking okay. That's what the fuck happens when you do psychedelics. You realize we all connected. We're essentially just consciousness experiencing itself. We don't exist. You know, our ego, which, you know, usually our default mode network in our brain, essentially, we don't exist. We do not exist. And we are all connected to that one thing, which essentially is consciousness. And you can call that, you know, what, many names. It has many names. It has many, 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 many names. And you might be thinking, bro, this guy is fucking waffling. Trust, maybe I think, would I be thinking that I would be waffling a few years ago? I think if I looked at myself from a few years ago and I looked at me now and I tried to say these things, I would first and foremost, I'll be like, what a fucking sexy guy. I like, if I was gay, I would have fucking married this guy. She was bisexual too, man. I'll take it. Oh my God, man. But no, I think a few years ago, if I asked myself how would I behave towards all of these things that I'm saying, I think I would resonate with it. But there would be so much fear and skepticism, which, you know, skepticism is healthy. Skepticism is absolutely healthy. But the level of skepticism I would most likely have would be control and fear-based. And I won't even recognize it. I'll be like, oh, this fucking guy. And then there will be a voice in my head. Look, he's got a fucking nose ring. What the fuck does he know? He's probably meant for hell, this bitch. He's probably fucking a demon. So how can I blame some of you, right? But I realize now that all of that would be fear-based. It would be control-based, and it would be stemmed in fear of going against institution, right? Going against the institutionalized version of the religion, which honestly I believe has done so much harm. You know, I guess to a certain degree it's also helped a lot of people. Absolutely, of course it has, right? Of course it has. Essentially but it's just more like you have this golden mountain, and with the institutionalized version, you're just getting like a breadcrumb of the golden mountain. And it's sort of locked up and wrapped in all of these other things that are just not pure as well. That's my opinion. And I think that's what institutionalized religion, whether that is all religions for that matter, that's essentially what happens. And I think it's fascinating how we, you know, as humans, I guess, I don't know really what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes I'm going to talk about Islam as well. Absolutely, of course, because I find it fascinating. But I really think that even the fact that we are unable to question certain things, and when we question, we are being told that, you know, we get shut down, and it's usually stemmed from a place, oh, you can't do this, you will go to hell, you will do this happen, and this and happen. It's a lot of fear-mongering. That's what a lot of institutionalized religion is, a lot of fear-mongering. Now, Ibn Arabi, for example, he speaks on the fact that perhaps paradise and hell is more of a metaphorical sense. And that's the understanding that I'm actually having more and more the older and the more I heal. Like, if you asked me beforehand, absolutely, like, all the description of hell, shit, I was like, shit. Like, I was so fucking scared at that point. And I'm going to be honest, I was scared, and I was just following in line. I was just following in line. I said, you know, even when, you know, my essence and the love for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, now it's more like that I've got that love. But back then, I even said Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because I was afraid that, oh, if I don't say it, I'll go to hell. If I don't say it, I'll go to hell. And people are like, oh, you have to love the Prophet. I'm like, I don't know the Prophet. How am I going to love the Prophet when I don't even know him? Right? I was like, yeah, that's why you need to study. But it's like, I don't know, man. I just, there's a lot of fear, man. When I was really, for me, religion, there was used a lot of fear, and I think there was a lot of misogynistic things, I guess, in the you know, institutionalized. And I use the word institutionalized. I'm not gonna go. I can go into that a lot more, but I guess I would probably say in for example, one of the main things is the fact that people put Sahih Bukhari. And by the way, for all of you guys that are like, what is Sahih Bukhari? That's why I don't know. I'll see whether I get into a lot of, like, we talk a lot about Islamic things or not. But I'm just going to give you, all of you guys anyway. But Sahih Bukhari is this collection of hadith. And basically, if you ask any Muslim, it's like, yeah, that is almost, well, a lot of Muslims go around and say that's equivalent almost to the Quran itself, right? Which is absolutely so blasphemous to think that a book written by a man that can even be compared. Well, the change and the question of but no one even dares to start questioning the. Oh my God, there's a few things you guys can look into. I think Mufti Abu Layth, who again is a teacher of mine, if you don't know, he's the guy where essentially when I started to listen to him, that is when Islam truly made sense for me. From a place where it just clicked, it started to click, but I could almost only access the fucking truth that he was speaking when I started healing. Before that, all of the shit, I would probably listen to his shit, but I was like, yeah, this is way too easy. This guy is a fucking this and that. And I would just portray and project my own insecurities onto him. And that's why I know a lot of people, they also project their insecurities on me, right? It's fine. It's okay. Little insecure bitch. Oh, but that's the thing, man. Once we heal, it's as though that God unlocks, you know, I don't even know how to consciousness, like almost like you can see things as you could never see them before. You know, God says, even in the Quran, where he says, God does not change the things of a man until man changes one side of himself, right? And it's almost the same ideas that you have, like these people like Neville Goddard that's talking, and you guys may be like, who the fuck is that? If you look into these things like law of assumption, these things, it starts to make sense how your internal reality creates your external reality. There's a book called Map of Consciousness by Dr. Richard, I can't remember his last name, but anyway, but you can look it up. Map of Consciousness, where essentially he talks about the same thing, which is your understanding of God, how you view God, essentially changes your external reality. Listen to this. The way you perceive God, and a lot of Muslims and a lot of Christians, and to be fair, a lot of people, well, Hindus are a little bit different, you know. Hindus, they say, oh, they got all types of gods. They got multiple gods. They got one for occasions. They got plenty of gods, you know. They're like one god here, one god there. They got plenty of gods. But with Muslims and just a lot of Abrahamic faiths, what you notice is a lot of them, especially when in the institutionalized and less of the, I guess, the mystical parts of the religions and the more spiritual parts of them, God is really portrayed as this very judgmental, very fear-mongering, like, oh yeah, he's just trying to put you in hell and he's just trying to test you, and it's almost very dark, right? And no one dares to say this, but the way a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of Abrahamic religions, how they actually portray God is, I feel, in a way, it's like almost like it's based on a lot around shame, guilt, and fear, right? A lot of that, and I think that is the institutionalized version of it. Whereas, in my opinion, all of, you know, I believe the religions, and the Abrahamic religions as well, essentially were based around love, which is the representation of God, right? And it's almost like you had people that were dragging down God's name and adding their own filters and all darkness upon it, right? And you could say even with Islam, they couldn't do that with the Quran. Now, in my opinion, I believe that the Quran has always been preserved, right? That's what I believe. People can believe whatever they want. That's what I believe wholeheartedly. But what ended up happening, essentially, in my opinion, again, is, well, they couldn't corrupt the Quran in that sense, but what they could corrupt is every other human text, right? And there's these, and I'm not that type of person. A lot of people might be asking, maybe this is a very, very religious talk, actually, this one. Fuck it, let's just do it. I'm good shit. Sorry, all of you fucking people that are not religious, they're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So don't worry about it. I'll get back to you guys as well. But I just want to speak on this because it actually just shows something fascinating. I think with, even you look at certain hadith collections, and the fact that they are almost being put next to the Quran is absolutely insane, right? It's absolutely insane. It's mind-baffling. And Mufti Abu Layth, who's, again, one of my teachers, he spoke about, and he has this critique of Sahih Bukhari, not in the sense that, oh yeah, everything in Sahih Bukhari is wrong and all. No, not at all. But we follow the rules of reason, right? And what was it? You guys can check that out yourself. Mufti Abu Layth, he's actually done a video where he calls it Bukhari Gate. Really, really opened up my mind in terms of, sure, like, you start to be able to see how institutions have really tried to, I guess you start to be able to just say, wow, we got tricked as well. And yeah, man, I don't know. I think in time, what will happen is that you'll have more and more people waking up to the truth. You'll have more and more people being presented the truth. And I think one of the ways of the truth will honestly be psychedelics. I think psychedelics, and the way it's so funny how all of these countries have banned. So the biggest drug of them all, which is alcohol, essentially is allowed in all of these countries, including a lot of Muslim countries. But as soon as you have some of these that are groundbreaking, these plants that essentially are, ethnogenic plants? I think they're called ethnogenic. And essentially what they do is that you sort of elevate you spiritually. And, there are some of these, I guess, plants that, as for example, DMT, that allows you to, in a sense, DMT is released in your brain when you're born, and DMT is also released in your brain when you die. So I guess institutions will slowly start to also break down due to psychedelics, because essentially it allows us to connect back to who we really are. I think psychedelics, what it does is that allow you to view the matrix, and once you've seen the matrix, you can't ever unsee it. And I think what it allowed me to as well, to realize that I was always living in the matrix. I was always living in a religious matrix, and that's just what it was. It was truly a really, really religious matrix. I would recommend you guys check out a documentary on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind. That really absolutely fascinated me. Yeah, and look, with psychedelics, there's a lot of things. You got to make sure that nobody in your family has schizophrenia, and there's certain things, and you always need to, like, a guided, a professional therapist, and these things. But done right, done with the right people, and done with the right therapists. I think it was John Hopkins University that did a study that showed that, I think it was PTSD, or was it CPTSD, that within 3 MDMA sessions, you essentially could resolve a majority of symptoms that are from CPTSD and PTSD, which is absolutely fucking fascinating. 3 sessions, or 5, let's say 5, 6 sessions, whatever, let's say over the span of 6 to 7 months, versus, say, 30 fucking years in therapy, where you go every fucking week. That is absolutely fucking life-changing. And that's what I mean, is like, there's a reason why they don't want us to heal. If we all start healing, then all of a sudden we start to see the Matrix for what it is. I find it funny how Andrew Tate was talking about the Matrix bullshit, but in reality, Andrew Tate and all these motherfuckers, they're stuck more in the Matrix than ever. Like, it's so fucking funny, because the Matrix was the trauma. There was all this fucking, it was the ability to not connect fully, properly with your heart, right? That was essentially what kept us in the Matrix. Right? Is the lack of empathy. Isn't it fun? Isn't God beautiful? Isn't God beautiful that he put, essentially, when you don't have that full empathy in your heart, you still stay stuck in the Matrix, right? And what is this Matrix? What is this Matrix we're in? Right? What is it a simulation? What is this Matrix? What is it? Right? I'm actually starting to rewatch The Matrix. I'm going to watch it probably tomorrow. Absolute fucking insane film. I remember I used to watch that shit. I was like, yeah, whatever. And I like me a conspiracy theory. I like me a conspiracy theory. And obviously I also just saw the propaganda that was just happening over the last few years, and I started to open more and more to the propaganda that was happening, especially due to the things that happened in Gaza. And, from that point on, I was just very, very fucking skeptical. I was like, oh my God, all these, I don't know, something like my eyes were like, oh. Right? And also saw the involvement of, like, there was no fucking support for Gaza, even by Muslims and all, Muslim countries. And it's just, my mind just fucking baffled. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? So yeah, and one may say, oh yeah, but I already knew that. But yeah, but for me personally, I'm just sharing my fucking story. I already knew that shit too, but it was just so fucking obvious at that point. And then I was thinking, like, I guess I was just seeing shit for what it was. And I saw a lot of these imams and sheikhs, how, again, a lot of them were, excuse everyone, close your ears, but they were sucking dick on Andrew Tate, right? And again, that just baffled me, because it's like, bro, this guy, and I used to follow his shit too, but I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. Shit was just fucking crazy. It's just like, I remember afterwards, once I was in part of all of that, but once I actually stepped out of it and I could look at it, I was like, there's something wrong with this shit. Something is wrong with this shit. This is not normal. I think this is fucking evil, actually. What the fuck is this? Right? It's just, I don't fucking know, man. I just feel like when you connect with your heart, when you fully go from survival to actually living, that's when you enter, exit the matrix, right? And essentially that's healing. That is healing. You want to escape the matrix, you gotta heal. Motherfuckers think they escaping the matrix is just capitalism. When you are just in capitalism, you are still playing in the fucking matrix, bitch. You're still in the fucking matrix. And nobody is saying that. Look, I'm a capitalistic guy. I'm an absolute fucking, I fucking love to play me as some Monopoly. I'm a fucking capitalistic guy. Abso-fucking-lutely, right? Because abundance is my birthright. Abundance is your birthright. Abundance is all of our birthright. We deserve abundance. We are these beautiful, infinite beings. Infinite, we can't even, the ruh, the soul is something that is unexplainable. You can't explain the soul. How are you going to explain the soul? It's unexplainable. But yeah, man, that's what it is. Anyways, fuck it. We've spoken enough today. I'm gonna upload this and then I'm gonna chat with you guys. Probably tomorrow I'm gonna make a new video. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm slowly just getting into the routine of it. I'm honestly trying to upload once a day so you guys have enough all the time. Yeah, you guys are fucking cute, man. What a fucking honor. Wallahi, what a fucking honor that I get to talk and you guys fucking find comfort in my voice. Wallahi, what a fucking honor. Oh my God, you guys are fucking beautiful. You know that, right? The fact that you guys find comfort in my voice, wallahi, you are so fucking beautiful. I don't give a shit what background from you, what religion you are. I don't give a shit what nationality you are. I don't give a shit. We believe in the same thing when we believe in love. We believe in the same thing when we believe in love. That's all. I've learned this in my life. Forget everything about religion and everything that you know. When we believe in love, we believe in the same thing. And this, first of all, I was like, yeah, what the fuck is that fucking Rastafari, whatever. What the fuck is that? You're just being a fucking Rastafari here, right? But yeah, the Rastafari, maybe they were right all along. Yeah, but maybe the Rastafari, they were right all along, that it is all love. All love. All praise be to the Most High. All praise be to God. All praise be to the Most High. All praise belongs to you, beloved. Oh, lover, I pray to you. My love. Everything. We are yours. We come from you and we are to return to you. Oh, love. I love you. All praise be to the Most High. All praise be to the Most High. All praise be to the Most High. God is the greatest. And I find the beautiful part about healing is when we can actually speak with love to God instead from a place of fear. It's just magnificent. What a blessing. What a blessing. What a blessing when we can speak to God from our hearts and not just our minds. I love you all. Blessings to everyone. All praise be to the Most High. Whatever you're going through right now, keep your fucking head up. I need you to keep your fucking head up. I need you to keep your fucking head up. I need you to keep your head up, keep your head high. Everything will be okay. All praise be to the Most High. Love.